What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and I'm once again joined by my friend Jake Hayes, TCG. If you're not subscribed, go check him out. He, on occasion, will also upload some really good Ace content, and he is a top 16 Treasure Cup player.
Treasure Cup.
Yeah, Treasure Cup player. And so if you're not already, subscribe to me first, but then go subscribe to him. But we're gonna go ahead in today's video. We're gonna talk about a number of popular Ace techs, and then also kind of we'll finish it off with a couple of wonky ones. But I think these are cards that I personally have been asked the most about, and excited to get your input on them as well. But welcome, Jake.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And you're gonna have to tag in soon to be serial winner to that.
Soon to be serial winner. Hey, look, let me get one more up on you, so that way I feel like you get a little too close for comfort. I need my next one. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and jump in. So first off, this is a card that I think is widely part of the conversation because there's this and there's Yamato. And this is something that I've had a number of conversations at locals about as well. And somebody kind of explained to me why they were playing this. So obviously the big thing is it's a 6/7, which is always the desired stat line. 6/7s are the new wave. But aside from that, this versus Yamato, which we'll talk about Yamato next, it is searchable off of Izo. So whereas having Yamato, you have to rely on hard drawing it, and the matchup you kind of really want that rush in is mostly against Emu. And the biggest thing is you only get the ability when you get the Don. And then also it's like a great value Jozu, so against Zoro you can have like more than 4 Jozu effectively. While it is likely though that they'll have another card to play, you can potentially like remove the Tashigi pressure from the board should you not find Jozu, which is also pretty nice. But the biggest thing for this is Yamato repeats. So when you get to go 6 into the 8, the biggest thing is the numbers game. And that's the fact that your leader gets 2 Don from the 10 beard, and then your Yamato gets the 2 Don. But then Yamato's allowed to allocate that extra one, so you're going 9/9, which is a 2-card counter for Emu no matter what. And you get an additional card plus the 9K event, or they are going to potentially take both those lives should they not have it, or like the 1 and a 2K. So it's very expensive, and this doesn't have that repeating. And then also it's pretty good against Lim, but I was wondering, did you ever consider playing this 6-cost Ace?
Yeah, I actually had this. Oh, it's funny. Like I'm a weird player where if I pull an alt, I'll like try to force it into my deck, and that's
Yeah.
what happened with this. And the first time I played it, I bounced to Tashigi versus a Zoro. And then they replayed the 4-cost Zoro with the Dawn Restander. And then they restood the Dawn and then countered with a DMG. And I was like, yeah, this card sucks.
That is, I literally, that is, they can smack you with the 4-cost. So, that is one of the downsides is, right, it does remove that Tashigi pressure, but it also opens up for more just shenanigans. And then of course in the mirror, neither of these cards are good. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about like Rush Yamato. So this one of course not searchable, so you do slightly it is searchable off of Gart, but you do decrease your Izo search percentage and you increase your potential to whiff, while unlikely does happen and it hurts and you just want to go cry under the bed. But it is again incredible in the Emu. There's so many times where when I queued into 5 Emu, I was like, if I just played Yamato, I think I won the vast majority. I think I lost to 1 total, but it was I think 2 Zoros were my 2 other losses, which was just unfortunate. But the Yamato,
I'm a huge fan of this card, actually. I was really high on this when I first started playing Ace.
It is so bad in everything else. But if you just play Emu, this card is the MVP. Because, again, you're spamming your 10 beards, but it gives you 9/9. So it forever, once it's established, it is commanding 2 cards. So 2-card combo is very bad for Emu and very good for us. Plus that extra pressure it presents on the turn with a 7/7, which is also just kind of, because normally our best play is to play a Jozu, kind of get back 2 cards potentially if we're not worried about a Shirahoshi, potentially just, fetch back one. On a good day, we can bounce one of their bodies because they just don't have enough in trash and they've just seen abysmal. But that's just win more. Outside of that, you just get to stick a 6/7 so that way they can't Mars it, and then you're going to get the draw 2 off of your Marco. It's like the best case.
Yeah. Yeah, this card, like, I think the thing, like, we just went over the ace, is like this card does everything that I want the ace to do, but it is less searchable, and it's like so much less flexible in every other matchup. Like, it is just sincerely dead versus Zoro. It's tragically dead in the mirror. So like, I think in the situations I was finding myself winning this, it was games I was like winning already, like you said, like win more. So it's like ultimately why I think the East faded it out, and why like the West has slowly faded this out as well. But it's a card I actually like really want to work in the deck because I do like the card. I think it's really flexible.
I wish it didn't have to. If I like this card a little bit more, if it doesn't have to go to leader, like obviously our leader is dependent on it, but it always just reminds me of like 5/6 Rush Luffy, and I feel like that's just so much better, just because you get to like do it and you go 6/7, and then you get to draw a card when he's KO'd. But of course, the 6 stat line is not good in a world with Nazjiro. So, but yeah, in the mirror, this card it's going to, if you play this, or not in the mirror, in Emu, if you play this card is an MVP and all-star. If you hit this on curve, you probably just won off of that alone, because it's going to stick. They're going to try to contest it. You have everything giving you a reason to save it, especially if you continually answer their Nozdro and they only have to use their last one to swing at it. You can just save your block and save it, then they go leader. But yeah, but the problem is, it's just like in the matchup spread, like in the mirror and against Zoro, it's just not that good. Because against Zoro, if you don't see Jozu, you're probably just going to lose anyways. So it doesn't give you what you need. But I'm a big fan. Of course, I ship the Yamato Ace. I'm on that train all day. But yeah, it just isn't good enough. I think OP14 can re-enter the conversation, because Red Blue Ace, while doing okay, is still in like a discovery phase, and they're like, well, they need to kind of change some things. So we'll see if the plan is still to be like a spam 10 deck, or if we're going to take a more aggressive route, which it can do. So excited to see that. But let's go ahead and jump to the next one. So I just would love for you to kind of explain. You were big on this. You made a whole video on it. You made a bunch of tweets on it, and then it just disappeared. I would just love to know a little bit about this.
I actually don't think I've ever standed a card more than I like was on this one. It was because, so first of all, when I first started playing Ace, I did not understand the Zoro matchup at all in the win condition. And so I basically said, I'm going to make my deck to beat Zoro without understanding the matchup. And that's when I started playing this card. And I thought it was actually quote unquote okay versus Emu. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. The problem is it is turbo bad in the mirror, and then everything that it did versus Zoro, you actually can just gain by understanding the matchup, without having to crutch yourself with tech. So that's kind of why it disappeared. It's literally because I got coaching from Jelly Beans, and he was like, "Yeah, this is how you play versus Zoro," and then I started winning that matchup. I was like, "Okay, I don't need the card," but it does turbo screw Zoro. I'm not gonna lie. If you put this in your deck, you're gonna beat Zoro a lot.
Well, wait. Let me break this down to you. Super simple though. So this, if you assuming you only get to establish one, because establishing it on curve, after that fact, you're kind of behind if you're playing anything, unless you're about to lose, so you spit out 2 of these, which is also fair. But you accomplish the same thing just by playing a 9-beard, which is what 9-beard's purpose really is against Zoro, because you just go up 2,000 versus them going down 2,000, but the math's the same. So just playing a 9-beard will accomplish the same thing. I actually have been playing around with 3 9-beard just because I got Zoro PTSD, and I'm like, I don't want to lose, and it gives me 1 extra target, and I still just don't want to play a tax beard. So it's still an incredible card, but it effectively accomplishes the same thing.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is I wasn't even like considering playing Nine Beard very often. I was basically playing against Zoro as like I have to be healthy and get to the late game to do like a wall spam, but that's just like not how that matchup works. And then like when I adjusted the game plan to basically be an 8K leader, that's when
Yep.
I got to the point of not wanting to play this card anymore.
Yep. All right. So now the tax man. So this is a wide, it was very popular. Then it kind of faded away as Zoro entered, mostly because leader doesn't pay tax, and so they would swing twice, and you'd have played this and got nothing and probably lost because you're a 6K leader and you can't block. You need two blockers minimum, and you're going to lose one. So it's always a fun time whenever you encounter the tax man. But the biggest thing that he has going is he's pretty good against Emu because he's going to buy you a turn. You also, like, as you combo it with Red Rock, you can bottom deck a body. But outside of that, you have the 12,000 power, whereas 10 Beard gets contested and beaten up, or 9 Beard gets contested and beat up by Emu. With Najiro, they'll make it a 6,000 and just keep poking at that to get cards from you. But the biggest thing is it is very slow. Like, you just play this and that's it. That's all you're going to do, and they can just don 15 on your leader and just do a gigantic swing at you, which feels really bad. Or they can, of course, like you said, park it, leave Dawn up, and go like 10 at your face, assuming you didn't establish the blocker beard, things like that. So the small little things that can become very inconvenient. But the biggest thing it has going for it is, of course, that 12K stat line, because 12K does hit like a brick trade.
Yeah. This is I have like a love-hate relationship with this card. I had multiple people give me long dissertations about why 9 cost is better than this one,
Yeah.
and I will never be able to repeat it, but I just trust what they say.
It is
So I
like
stopped playing this.
it is though, like, just because it's effectively it's reverse this. So they have to pay 2 cards for every swing, but you really get 2 cards because you get 2K counter plus your 6, so you get 3K worth of counter for every single swing that they do from from a regular leader's base. So it's effectively the reverse, but you give them cards instead of them giving you, but you kind of control the scenario. Is really
Yeah.
like the gist of it.
I do see a world where this card comes back into the fold if we don't get 9 cost either brought into rotation or replaced with a new version of itself. I think this is probably the likely contender to take that slot if like Emu's still in the meta. But as of right now, like I just don't feel like it's needed.
I
And
agree.
it really sucks against everything else. It
Yeah,
really sucks against everything else.
it's really only for Emu. It does have potential. We saw the winning list playing it, so TBD how it unfolds in 14. But again, very cool looking card, but he just doesn't make the cut. Now we'll keep this kind of brief, but this card has the potential to be a star in OP 14, where there's more sevens. However, this is the same way in like the Doflamingo conversation. You want to go to the Jozu Wars, but then you get to control your own narrative and decide when it's going to end. And so you could use this to end those. The biggest thing is it's very strong removal, but it's like, again, it's like if you go first, you have another Jozu in a way, which is also kind of cool. But outside of that, like, I mean, Emu's the big dog, and you're never gonna get to remove a body, and its stat lines are pretty abysmal, being a 7/7, so it never feels great. And then of course you don't get to like attach a Dawn if you're playing it on 7, and any turn after 8 you will never play this card.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually like I think this card kind of goes with hand in hand. I asked you to put the Mihawk in there so I won't like go crazy on it.
Yeah.
The one like purpose I find for this card is on the odd curve on your 7 Dawn to end the Jozu War. The thing I like about this card a little bit more than Mihawk, which I am testing right now, is that you get to play this a turn earlier, and then on your 9 Dawn, you get to develop and pudding as well. So it like when it happens, it's probably really, really good, but it's like so niche. And like it being a 7K is not good. Like
Yeah,
for
yeah. Like
7
it's just
Dawn.
the stats are abysmal on it. Like if this was a
Yeah,
7-9, I would play this card. The fact that
yeah,
it's a 7-7, it's like at the time it was created, very strong, very fair card. But nowadays it's just a little not enough. Like a 7 cost removal has its moments, but now it's just not the time. And then of course, so the one card that you were a big fan of and a lot of people have asked me about is of course the double attack Vista. So of course, again, it's another card that kind of ends the Jozu war and potentially even makes sure it just doesn't even happen, and it makes their turn weird. They'll probably return 2 of their own or bounce something else of yours. But he's got a 6/8, so it's like the kind of stat lines that we're looking for. So pretty solid stat line for even like Emu. And then you have double attack, which can also potentially come up, but outside of that, of course, it is another brick in the deck. And while a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but you can play as many bricks as you want, you get leader ability, but leader's only once per turn. So even if the game goes for like you get 7 turns, you can only maximum, if you used it every single turn, turn 7 bricks into not bricks, and all the other bricks are still bricks,
yeah.
right?
I think the big difference between like if you're gonna bundle up Dofi, Mihawk, and Vista, taking up that like 1 of or 2 of slot for your like 6/7 on turn, and Mihawk will throw in there because I think it's in that slot. The thing about this card that's super interesting is that it's actually like not bad into Zoro and Emu. Like it's really sticky against Zoro, and it basically negates their leader effect. And then also like it will weirdly save you 1 card when it's sideways versus Emu because they'll reduce it, and then they'll reduce it to a point where you don't want to save it, but you just get to give a card for it. So it's basically like you getting out of an 8 for 1 card, and then you let it die and you draw.
Mm-hmm.
So like the reason I think this card can still make lists effectively and be really good is because it is much more flexible than just playing it on like your 7 Dawn or your 6 Dawn.
Yeah, and even there could be scenarios where you can't necessarily like, especially against Zoro, it might not always be a great to like play the 10 beard just because he can't like block. So there could be instances where you play like this and then just like attach it on so that way you can draw like your card, or like just a stronger body that will matter when you're pushing for lethal the following turns because you plan to go to 0 and like Roger, so you can get out this, leave up a Dawn for like Radical Beam, get some Dawn on leader to add pressure. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in like lethal scenarios because again, we have that good
Yeah.
stat line that we want to see. We want those big numbers. We don't want 7/7s.
Yeah. And
6/7
8
or
like
bust.
8's like so big in this meta too because 8 actually just means 10.
Yeah.
Which is like turbo crazy into most things,
Yeah.
especially in the mirror.
And it's
Like
funny
10 in the mirror is crazy.
Yeah, this is one of few formats where like bodies are actually contested just because Nasjiro. And it was similar way back in the OG Whitebeard days where when you would potentially just not turn bodies sideways because of red Ace, they effectively have like their own version of Ace with Nasjiro that only costs 3. And then, of course, you can play 2 in 1 turn, which you could not do with Ace, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But it is. And it's very, like, because normally an 8K body, you just can't. It's just too expensive. But we're in such a high end meta, like where we're playing top end, where we can potentially contest bodies on board. And just, again, we have that minus on some things as well. So the bigger, the better.
Yep, 100%.
Cool. And then so we'll just keep this kind of brief. So the biggest thing here with this Vista is the fact that it's especially good against like Zoro because you could potentially go like 8 cost, then play out this, and then you just spit out 3 blockers, and so you can block 1, block 2, block 3, which is the minimum number of blocks you need to kind of like stop the Zoro assault, because you need at least 2 because the first one's free. And I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make too is like they don't realize that Zoro can't go at their body, and so they play it because like if Zoro's wants to hit your face, they can't go at their body because otherwise you can block the face hit for free. So you could draw a card then block the face hit for free because he's already initiated combat. So they usually don't go at your bodies out like once they hit 10 Dawn. It's just ineffective for them because then you're just going to take that free block afterwards. You'll get that draw card and then take the free block. And so, like, cheap blockers can be really good there. It can also be good in the mirror because they're going to turn their 12Ks sideways. And if you got out of it for 1 Dawn, it's effectively a 7K Radical Beam because you're like, oh, I get to block with Vista. And so he can come up. There's any cheap blocker. They're always good in top end formats. But, of course, there are things where it just isn't going to be good. And it's things against Emu because they're just going to play their 10 drop and they're going to trash a card and pop it. So it's like, it's not going to save you there. And, of course, it is also a brick. I don't know. Did you try this card? If not, it's completely okay. But this was like a 1 or 2 of just because, again, it can kind of come up and really help out in the Zoro because you could potentially go like Marco this, and then you're going to get to block with this, then block with Marco, draw 3, and things like that.
No, I'm going to be honest. When people said they were testing Vista, I thought they were talking about the other one. I didn't even know this. I didn't even know this card existed.
All good, all good. We'll just move past this one again. And then so I would just I felt like this was just part of the list, but you feel like it's a tech, so just wanted to give you the floor here to kind of just explain your reasoning, because I understand you don't play Radical Beam.
I have been on and off Radical Beam for about the last week, and I am currently off of it. And I've found that like Radical Beam is really good against Zoro specifically, but I think if you understand the matchup enough, it's not like crazy needed, but it does like buy you equity in the game if the game's not going exactly as planned. And I like it saves you a card versus emo. So like I understand the value of it. I just don't find myself having the flexibility enough, like in my play spot style specifically, to be wanting to leave the Dawn up. And like in my testing, I'm really only concerned with 2 things right now, and the first one being going first in the mirror, which I like don't see this card when I test it. It like only comes up when you're on like 3 or 5 Dawn, and then like it's going first against Emu, and I think there's like cards I can put in slots to be better going first in the Emu than Rad Beam, so that's kind of like why I've gotten off it. But like I do think it's extremely strong, and at one point like I would have been like, yeah, I'm gonna run 2 of this card, because like when I got down to 1, it felt really bad because it's not searchable at all in the deck,
Yep.
and it would be the only card in the deck that has 0 searchability besides Garp, I believe, off the top of my head. So that's why like it's fallen out of favor for me the most. But I do think there's worlds where like it probably needs to be in the deck.
Yeah, I'm fake. I realized that I cut it for another 9-beard. So when I added it, so I'm playing 3 9-beard, I cut this because it was effectively the same thing, except if they have more than one swing, it's better. If they have more than one swing, it's better because I get 2K from that one and I'm going to get 2K there. So I was like, it's the same thing. So I've also cut it. So I agree with everything that you had said. And then, so we'll talk about the 2Ks now. So I know that this is like one of the big things that everybody is like, oh, like, I feel like Thatch is widely agreed upon here in the West, but it was never really a requirement there. For me, Thatch is the MVP in the mirror. You play your 10 Roger first, and they either have Red Rock or they risk you having Thatch. And I've won games off of playing Thatch. He can come up in other matchups as well. I've positioned myself to be able to Thatch by establishing the Roger early, but then they just put me to 0 anyways, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, I just win. But there are scenarios where he can come up. I was just wondering, how do you feel about Thatch?
Yeah, it's funny, like we brought up the EZO thing, and I was very against Thatch at the beginning of this meta and my ace testing, but now I'm very much a supporter of Thatch. And I actually won a game with Thatch in my Treasure Cup run. It's just what you said. It's setting up Roger, and in the mirror, when you get to the states where the walls start going up and you're both at 1 life, basically the first one that can park a Roger and then Thatch wins. So it's super good. And then in any other matchup, if you park a Roger and like especially in the Emu, that because they're not playing Stussy anymore, that they don't have an answer. You basically put the Roger down and look him in the face, and they know they lose on the spot. So I think just having that flexibility, and not having to rely on a spell and use less Dawn for a shaky lethal, it makes stats that much better to be able to use all 9 Dawn.
I agree. Yeah, I had an instance where I parked a Roger and they were still playing Stussy, and I was a little sad about that. But we move on. So now this is, I feel like, the biggest one that people are talking about. I can't see it, because if any turn that you're playing Kingdew is inefficient, because he doesn't even get to keep the power for your opponent's turn, so he's an easy swing into, but he just doesn't establish that much of a threat. He has a requirement to be a 4/6, and you really just get a 4/6 2K for one turn, whereas the other option, of course, turning on Roger. Like, I just don't see the argument outside of, unless you're like a huge Kingdew fan, because it doesn't even have like any extra tags. Like, it is searchable off of Garp. We can mention that it does have that, but they're really outside of that doesn't have much allure besides this one being that. But this and Jozu both share the ability to, of course, be searched from Garp, versus where Thatch is not, but Thatch can be searched from Ezo. So this one, the other 2Ks do have 2K, Garp in common, which can be relevant when you need to upgrade your hand for counter. When trading out a 1 for a 2 can be big, whereas Garp only has Uda as a 2K target, so there is that benefit. But outside of that, I just don't think it's worth the trade of not of like Roger. Like, Roger's just that good.
Yeah, this card's as good as this guy's haircut. This card sucks. I mean, like, there's not. I've played games. I'm not trying to troll anybody. I've played games where they play that card against me, and I leave because I just assume it's not a real game and they're playing like a fake list.
That's toxic. But I've definitely, I mean, I've left my fair share of Nami games. So, like, Blue Nami, I'm just like, yeah, I'm out. So, like, respectfully, like, I wanted to play the card game.
Jokes aside, though, I think that card, like what you said, it's either you have a 2K in that slot to set up Roger, or you have Jozu that has a real, like, I've top decked Jozu in games that I shouldn't have won and been able to have a lethal line because of Jozu. So, like, I do think there's a real argument for Jozu to be in the list. I just don't understand, and maybe somebody could explain it to me, because I have seen it in lists in the East that have won things. So, like, it's either it's just acting as a 2K counter and they topped, and because it's a good player, and so it's in the list, or they actually won games with it. But I think what Jozu or Thatch provide is just not even close to what that card could provide. So somebody should enlighten us in the comments if they have something to say about it. But
yeah, let us know in the comments. But yeah, Joe, I cut my one of Jozu. I was playing 2 Thatch, 1 Jozu, and then I was like, I just win this game if I had Jozu, and I switched it to 3 Thatch, and I was like, oh, so Jozu can win games. Now we're gonna kind of finish things off here. I think this was the funniest card that I've seen, and that was Meteor Strike of Love. It's an OPO6 card, but better art, like, Thatch is a 2K, which is great, but this is a 3K, and you can add the top card of your life to your hand, then your leader or character gains 3,000 power during this turn. So you can turn on Roger while also becoming 9K, or even if you use the 8 cost event, which, like, to go down that, say you're at 3, then you go down to 2, or you're at 3, you go down 2, you're at 1.
I just realized that this card said for this turn. I thought it was for this battle.
No. It's for the turn. So you're 9K for the turn. This card's kind of crazy. Like,
this card's shiest. This card's shiest.
This card will steal a game. Like, you will lose a game. That this card will win games. But it's also like you can park the Roger and then you get 11 Dawn. Whereas when you play Thatch, you only get 9. You can now have 11 because you're also going to gain 3. So it goes both ways because it's main and counter, and you'll gain 3,000 power. So
I don't know if you've tested this card, but off the rip, what scares me about this is ideally you want to park the Roger and then turn the Roger on next turn. So I guess this would just be like the third copy of Thatch, which is it's probably like a better Thatch because it does print you 3 Dawn, um, or like prints you +1 Dawn as far as power goes. But like not being able to counter with it the turn the Rogers played would be the biggest downfall, I guess. But the card does look shy, so I'm not gonna lie.
It's like, and so the biggest thing, and I've had a lot of games where I've played Roger way early because it was my best play of that turn. And you can buy multiple, you'll have multiple 10 Dawn turns. So you go 8, you bring out your blocker beard so you don't have, or you have like 9 drop and you have that, but they don't have any established threats or a lot of swings. Like, okay, well, I'll just play Roger, and when the time comes, you can just turn it live, or they'll spend their whole turn removing it, and then I'll just continue like my game plan and see more cards. But I'm actually, I don't hate it. On paper, this card, like I said, you can just lose to this card. Because one, like you could attempt lethal. Roger aside, you could attempt lethal and just fail because of this. Like against Zoro, you'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go down to 0, but now I'm if you're an 8K, you're an 11K leader, and their best swing is 12-12. You just need 2 2Ks, and one of them is gonna be your leader ability. Like that's kind of crazy.
What we need to happen, and this is for your subscribers. I want you to throw a challenge out here to your subscribers. Somebody needs to pull off being at 2 life and playing this card to go to 9K, and then playing a spell +9 cost to go to 14K to be a 14K leader with 0 life. Somebody in the comments pull it off and upload it to YouTube.
I might try to do that in a video and just call it 14K leader. That might actually be a video.
That would be crazy.
But we're going to wrap things up here. Let us know if we missed any texts. We might cover them in a future video. But once again, go check out JK's TCG on YouTube, on X. Go give him I'll put his information here so you can go check him out. But super appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you having me. See ya.
Yeah.